Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Sennheiser Momentum 2.0 headphones. I'd like to thank Sennheiser for actually sending me this out for review, and it can be bought for around £250 on Amazon.co.uk and $350 on Amazon USA. Links will be in the description in case you're interested. So what do you get in the box? So first of all, you've got the headphones themselves. They're removable cable, more on that in just a bit. You've got a hard case, well, hardish case, which is quite large, and you've got a soft carrying pouch and a manual. Now on the pouch itself, I really like the fact that Sennheiser have included two. The reason why is because this one can be taken, say, on the plane or like taken in the car or something like that, whereas this one can be put in a bag or left at home. You might be wondering, how does this fit in this? Well, it's quite simple. These actually fold up and they can go in here. So it's really nice that Sennheiser have included both, and on top of that included nice high quality cases which have a lovely stitching which reflect the same sort of stitching on the that can be found on the headphones. So really props to Sennheiser for doing that. Now on the headphones themselves, let's start up with the build quality. Now the build quality for me was really hit and miss. So let's just go through it. First of all, the jack. It's a 3.5mm right angle jack, which is gold plated and has microphone capabilities both on newer Android devices and iOS devices. The reason behind this is because it's got an inline mic, which also has a play pause functionality, volume up and down, and hang up and answer call functionality. This is brilliant as you can use this on a mobile device, and as this headphone is intended for on the go, it's great that Sennheiser have thought about it and actually included the compatibility with Android as well. Now when I said removable cable, it is a removable cable if you can remove it. Now I've come across quite a lot of headphones, and some of them have removable cables, even earphones have removable cables. In this respect, Sennheiser thought, we'll have a removable cable, but to make it safe, we're going to have it in a locking mechanism. Now for me, that's utterly stupid, and I don't know why they thought about it. There's two reasons why I think it's stupid. One, because if this headphone were to snag on a certain thing, say for example, you had these on your head and someone suddenly pulled your cable for any given reason, this won't come out, and therefore meaning your whole head is going to shift or the headphone is going to go flying off your head. Whereas with a removable cable, the cable would break away. For example, you have an Xbox 360 controller, they have a breakaway removable cable because in case someone pulls on the cable, it doesn't yank your whole console. Let's imagine the console is your head and the headphone is your controller. In this respect, the whole headphone is going to fly out and your head is going to completely tilt. So it's really stupid for including that, and secondly, it's really annoying to get off. So much so that I even got a pair of pliers in order to get this off. Yes, a pair of pliers to get the removable cable off. You'd think it'd be easy to get off, but unfortunately due to its poor design and its really small strain relief here, you've hardly got any grip to pull it out. And I don't really want to pull from here because it might cause a loose connection over here. These cables are weak in terms of, they're just normal 3.5mm cables. So if you pull this quite a lot, it's going to start breaking over here, and therefore you're going to have disconnection problems due to the wire starting to disconnect, being you pulling it in and out quite a lot. So therefore you should hold it by the jack, and unfortunately it's really hard to get out. So much so you can see the strain that I'm putting on my fingers right there. It is really poor, and I don't know why Sennheiser, again, have poor design choices. To give you an example, I've got the AKG K545s. These are a direct competitor to the Sennheiser Momentum 2.0s, due to them being portable, due to them being actually, you can take them on the go, and even to the sound quality. These have also a removable cable with an inline microphone, and look at this. Well, that was simple, Sennheiser. Why can't they just include a simple breakaway cable like that? It's so simple to include, and it's included throughout the whole industry. Yet Sennheiser thought, let's just be special and let's make it annoying. On top of that, even if it wasn't for that mechanism problem that I was having in terms of removing, just in terms of usability to remove it every now and then, it's really hard to click. I would just love a breakaway cable. How hard would it have been? Anyway, moving on from that cable design, which is again poor by Sennheiser, let's talk about a bit of the headphone. Now the headphone have this lovely little cup, which is reasonably big, although it didn't really fit my ear over the ear. So these are over the ear headphones. But for me, my ear was really on the extremity. It's the same case when it was the K545s. The drivers are just not designed to be that big in terms of like the diameter like that. Whereas the Denon D2000s, which are my modern Denon D2000s, have a perfect design for my ears. So you can see the in terms of a comparison, the size of the drivers and the size of the cups. Now I do understand these are portable headphones, so I don't expect them to be massive, but I would have just liked it just a little bit bigger, then it would have fit my ears perfectly. That said, this is kind of subjective speaking because my ears might be different from yours, and I've got reasonably big ears as it is, so do bear that in mind. Now in terms of the comfort wise, these pads were nice and soft and I didn't have any problem with them. But the top of the headband has literally no sort of padding. In fact, there's so little padding that you can hardly feel it. This means that over time, if you wear them for a long period of time, you're going to feel these digging in. But again, it's not a big deal for me simply because these are portable headphones and therefore I don't really expect people to be wearing them, say, as long as these Denons, where you'd be wearing them, say, for a couple of hours on a long listening or gaming session. Whereas these ones you'd be using on the go and probably not used as much at home. Same went for the K545s. They had quite thin padding at the top, despite actually having padding, as you'll be able to see over here. They had padding, but it was very thin again, so it was digging in a little bit. So anyway, the padding is a little bit short, but overall comfort is good. Now the isolation due to the pads is decent. Due to them being over the ear, I did find them to be reasonably well. But obviously, in comparison to some earphones or whatever, you know, there's no comparison. In terms of headphones go, as far as headphones go, they were good. Not amazing due to not having a massive cup or you know, a stronger clamp, but they were great in terms of their isolation. But let's continue talking about the build quality a little bit. You'll be able to see over here the drivers can be adjusted. Now this is quite an interesting design, simply because normally it's the headband. Just to give you an example, here the headband is what you're adjusting on the AKGs. Same goes for my Denons. So in this respect, you're adjusting the driver. Now this is really cool design and I like it in terms of the looks, but in principle, it doesn't really work. I previously reviewed headphones like this, and over time, this sort of mechanism becomes loose, and therefore, if you wear them like this, it will slowly start sagging down, and therefore making it uncomfortable. So it's no problem right now, and obviously I'm making a little bit of assumptions, so I can't really bear that in this review that much, but I just think that this design isn't really great in terms of headband assembly and adjustments go. Speaking about the headband assembly, is going to be my major point with the build quality and one of my major critical points about these headphones. As you can see, they've got a lovely design of a metal headband over here. It's great in terms of strength, it's great in terms of looks, it's great in terms of just the overall durability of the headphone. However, if you were to wear a jacket, which I often have to do, unfortunately, in the UK, as it's cold, this part of the headphone, if it is touched in any way, for example, with a jacket with a nice collar on it, this creates absolutely horrendous microphonics that go through the drivers. Now, I am again absolutely disappointed in other reviewers out there which didn't point this out, because it's such a fundamental flaw that I don't know why Sennheiser have overlooked it. A simple fix would have been to include some of this material or a rubber or something like that on the edge, which would have prevented this sort of sound conveying throughout the whole headphone. As you can see, as this is due to the headband assembly, a little flick on there goes throughout the headphone, and therefore you hear a loud microphonics, like the cable noise. And I've always taken out cable noise from a headphone because it's never present, but in this case these headphones had horrible microphonics when you had a jacket that was touching upon this. Obviously the cable didn't make any noise when hitting a shirt, but this did, and this really dampened my overall thoughts of the headphones, because these are made to be on the go, they're made to be taken on the street, and therefore you're made to be wearing something, not just, you know, a t-shirt at home because it's nice and warm. Let's say you live somewhere cold, like in the UK where it's mainly cold, then you're going to wear a jacket. And if you wear a jacket with a collar, you know, if you want, you know, or a scarf even, then this is going to rub against it and it's going to give you horrible microphonics, and therefore you're not going to enjoy listening to the headphones. Why, Sennheiser, have to you do this? Why do you have to do this? Sennheiser IE8 had terrible terrible jack design with, you know, not even gold-plated design, which meant that if you wiggled them, it disconnected the earphones. Then the Sennheiser IE800s, which were a recent earphone, and £600 earphones, had horrible cable design, and yet now these Momentums, which are £250 headphones, have a terrible headband assembly design. Why? Why are you doing this? And again, why has no one pointed it out? Why am I the first person pointing this out, or one of the first few people actually sticking their head out and saying, Sennheiser, up your game? This is not the case with any other headphones I've heard, and these are some heavyweight headphones you're going to see over here in terms of price. These ones are Model D2000, which come at £270. These are AKG K545s that come in at £160 right now, but I reviewed them at £230, and these are Sennheisers, which come in at £250. So it's very much an expensive headphone when compared to its competition, and I would pick these two for their given purpose, so on the go and at home any day of the week, just due to its design rather than its sound quality. Anyway, bit of a rant there, but it's something that's truly deserved, because why Sennheiser is doing this is beyond me. Now, finishing up on the build quality, yes, as I said several times, it does fold. It's brilliant. The cups don't rotate, so like the AKGs do, for example, but they do have a little bit of flex, which means that it can fit on your head a little bit more comfortably. Now let's move on to the audio quality, which is obviously very important. Now, the audio quality for me was good, overall was good, but I did find that it did lack in terms of its lows. Now, the lows were a little bit disappointing. The mid bass was a little bit uncontrolled, and it just didn't have that much precision. It was very loud and like there, and you could hear the mid bass, but it didn't really have any control. The sub bass was almost non-existent. It was there and present, but it was a bit it was lacking. It felt like it was cut off. In comparison to something like the AKG K545s, which again is a direct competitor to Sennheiser Momentum 2.0s, this didn't have that much sub bass, but it had some present sub bass, and the mid bass was really nice and accurate and controlled. In comparison, this came out in terms of the lows by a country mile. Then I compared it to this Denon's D2000s, the Model D2000, which looked like D5000s. There was no comparison. The sub bass, mid bass was absolutely phenomenal on the Denons in comparison to the Sennheisers. Now the mid-range. Now the mid-range on the AKGs were good. Now when I compared it to the Momentums 2.0s, I was very impressed. So much so that it came so close to having a full 10.0 rating. The reason it didn't have the full 10.0 rating is because of its mid-bass. The mid-bass kind of drowned the mids just a little bit, really tiny bit. So it had a little bit of a V-shaped sound signature. Very slight, I can't stress this enough, very slight. I'm not talking Denon V-shaped signature, I'm talking AKG K545 slightly dipped equals Sennheiser Momentum 2.0 V-shaped sound signature. So very slight dip in the mids, which meant that the mids weren't quite perfect, but they were extremely good. The mids were definitely the talking point for the Momentum 2.0s, and I was very impressed with their overall mid-range. The highs, on the other hand, just like the K545s or the K551s, they were disappointing. They were rolled off and they didn't really have any sparkle. Now, unlike the K545s, which had a nice little sparkle to them, despite being rolled off, these didn't have any sort of sparkle, therefore didn't really entice me to want to listen to it more, which is a little bit disappointing, because normally you'd expect headphones of this caliber to have a decent high extension and more so have a nice sparkle to them, because it gives a bit more life to the headphone. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Finally, finishing out with the Soundstage. Now obviously Soundstage is very important, and when I again compared it to K545s, it didn't quite hit that note. It was good, it was very good. 8 out of 10 was my rating for the Soundstage, very good overall, but it just didn't have this openness sound and this sort of percussions coming from left and right and around your ear, so to speak. It felt a little bit more closed. and therefore I couldn't give it a full 10.0 rating or a higher rating than 8 out of 10 for its soundstage. So overall its sound quality was good. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 overall. It is good, but it's not quite there in comparison to something like the AKG K545s or K551s or other headphones that come in its price category. So overall, what do I think of the headphones? It's again a bit of the same problem with Sennheiser. I think that they've got some good headphones, they've got some decent, design, and obviously they've got a nice name behind it. But due to its price and its sound quality, I don't know. Its sound quality was good, but its price begs the question to say, why can't you just add a little bit more? Why can't it be just that little bit better to make it sound like £250 headphones? Right now, it sounds like £180 headphones in terms of pure sound quality. But then I compare it to something like the K545s, which I've done many times already in this review, and this can be bought right now for £160. So then I think, okay, these are £160, will I still recommend them? Well, no, due to its design quality. Due to its design having this really stupid microphonic sounds that come through via this design over here, and its cable, which is just a pain, means that I can't really actively recommend them. They are good headphones, don't get me wrong. I've given them, I think, an 8 out of 10 on my website, which you should see in the link in the description below for my written review. And I think I gave them an 8 out of 10 final rating, which is a high rating to give because they are good headphones. But in terms of me actively recommending them and saying go out and buy them, I couldn't do so because they're these, or there are other headphones out there which do a better job, either in terms of their overall build or just their sound quality. I just think that the K545s came out on top in every single domain, probably apart from the fact that they can't be folded up. That's the only thing I would say, and even then, folding these up, they're not exactly the smallest thing in the world. I mean, they're still quite big if you compare it to, say, my mouse. It's still quite big in terms of to take. It does, portable. Yeah, it is. But really, can you really take this and put it in your pocket? No, you have to have a bag. And at that rate, is it possible for a guy which doesn't really take a bag? I don't know. Not really, not for me. But anyway, that's something else. I'm talking about the headphones here, and I just want to say that I can't really recommend them just based on what they offer. It's a little bit hit and miss here and there, and I just think Sennheiser again have to go to the drawing board and just think about it, or actually use their headphones before they release it to the market. I don't think they do. I don't think they actually take their headphones and say, how do these sound? How do these work? How's the usability of it? Is the cable removable enough? Does this make any microphonic sounds? Is the headband good enough so that you've got enough padding at the top? Is the audio quality exactly what we'd want to expect from a flagship on-ear, portable over-the-ear headphone? Is this something we want to put a brand name on it? And personally, if I was that guy at Sennheiser, or if I was the lead designer or the maker or the owner of Sennheiser, I would say no. Improve the highs. Get a little bit of a wider sound signature for the soundstage. Remove this, shorten it, or make this a little bit different. Have removable cable as a removable cable, or include another removable cable in the package. And then we'd have a headphone that we can actually go to the market and be happy with it. So overall, guys, it's a good headphone, but I can't recommend it. It's as simple as that. I've got to be honest, and unfortunately you don't see many honest reviews, especially not for Sennheiser, because they've got a massive fan base, fanboys, and people that you're like, if I say anything bad about Sennheiser, I won't get anything. Well, that's not the case with me. I'm straight up honest, and I always will be. And in that case, if you like that, please subscribe, like this video for an honest review, comment in terms of what you think about it. I know it's been a long video review, and definitely favorite and share to spread the word. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. This has been the Sennheiser Momentum 2.0 headphone review. Take care guys, Totally Dubbed out. Bye bye.